Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm the head of design here at Digioh. In this video, I'm going to walk you through using our global design settings in our Qwizard to help you create a beautiful on-brand quiz. In the previous steps, you should have set up all of your store information and enter the questions that you'll be using in your quiz. Once that step is complete, you'll click Done here, and that'll take you to the next stage, which is design. To note, if you press Finish Quiz before clicking Done, your quiz will generate and you won't be able to use these global design settings. You'll still be able to use our normal editor to design your quiz, but these settings will help you set them quickly and get you about 75% of the way to designing your quiz. So, once you're ready, click Done, and you'll be taken to the Global Design Settings tab here. These settings will allow you to set the overall styles of the different elements of your quiz pages. You can get more granular on specific pages and elements once the quiz is generated. I'll walk you through the different elements here, but first I want to start with a few basic tips on how to think about your quiz design. With Digioh, you have complete control over the look and feel of your quiz. This means matching your quiz to your brand guidelines and your website, so you make it look like a cohesive part of your site. To start, we recommend having your brand guidelines and website at the ready. This will allow you to easily copy color codes, or give you a feel for how your site uses fonts and button styles. If you don't have a dedicated brand guideline, that's no problem. You can go to your website and inspect elements by right-clicking and viewing Inspect. In this Computed tab, you can get all the details of the CSS information of each element, so you can view colors, fonts, and any other stylings that go along with it. The first thing I want to call out is to always remember to save. These settings do not automatically save as you're making these updates, and if you hit Finish Quiz before clicking Save, you'll lose the updates that you've made here. It's helpful to do this multiple times as you're going through. Here, you can see you can toggle between desktop and mobile, so you can get a preview of how this will look on different devices. Within these sections, you'll see the default styles set, and you can change them just by clicking on them. Most overrides do so for desktop and mobile, aside from button sizing, which you can set individually, which I will show you a little bit later. So now let's get into the sections. You can click on this drop down where you can change the styles of each different element on your quiz page. We'll start with the layout, which will be your background border of all your quiz pages. If you want to update the border here, you can change the different styles for your color, width, and border radius to round the corners. You can also change the background color here. So let's use our light green color from our brand guideline. We'll copy that code and enter it in here. We also have extra CSS styles, which I'll talk a little bit later, so you don't normally use them too often in the layout. Click Save. So now we'll get into questions. This is going to be your question copy here, and you can update the font styles by clicking on these drop downs. If you've uploaded any custom fonts, they'll be down at the bottom, or you can use any of our basic or Google fonts found already in the editor. You can update the font size to make it a little bigger or smaller, and you can update the color if you like. We also have these styles here for bold, italics, underline, and uppercase. In the extra CSS styles, you can add any additional styling to your elements that you can't find in our normal interface. So say you want to add letter spacing to your copy, you can type that in this section here, and that'll update. You can also add this to buttons and different elements on your page. We're going to go ahead and delete that and move on to subheader. Here we have similar editing options as the question section, where you can change your fonts and your sizing for your subheaders. Next, we're going to move over to all buttons. This is a great place to start, as you'll probably want most of your buttons to look similar. Note that this will override the default styles for all types of buttons. You can then update those specific button styles individually. By clicking on these drop-downs, you have the ability to change the styles of each of the different states of your buttons. So here, we can change the hover state. We're going to grab the green color from our brand guideline and change the hover color to green. We're also going to change the selected state to the same green and the selected and hover state to green as well. We're going to do the same for our border. Change the hover here to green, change the selected to green, and we'll keep the selected and hover state to black to give a little difference if something is selected and someone hovers over that. We'll also add some border radius to make them look a little bit closer to our brand. So now you can see as you hover over or you select, these colors change. Now that we have the style set up for the majority of the buttons we want to use, we'll start editing them individually. So go to the drop down and go to Start and Next buttons. Here, this will be this button here, which will be used for multi-select questions or if you're using a splash page or an email form. Usually we like to style these a little bit differently to give some variations in your questions that are multi-select. So for here, we're going to change the background to green always for this button. And we'll keep green border here. We're going to change the font color to white. So if it says white and it's not showing as white, just select off of it and select back in. So now we have that set, and let's give it a slightly darker green for the hover. Always remember to save, and then we can move on to other buttons. We'll click the drop down and we'll go to back buttons. We usually like to keep this a little more subtle so it doesn't draw too much attention. So here we're just going to remove the border and we're going to make the background transparent just by clicking and dragging the slider. And now we have that just set up to make the underline disappear on hover. For the rest of the buttons, you'll have similar options to edit any of the styles for each of them individually. So I won't go through each of them, but I will show you one more feature that we do have. And we'll view that on the short multi-select text buttons. So for these, by default they come with a little check icon which will display. To do that, you would just turn this image off. It shows on here, just click it on and off, and that will disappear if you don't want it and want to just rely on the color changing to show that it's been selected. The other option that we do have here is if you want to be very specific about the dimensions or the margins of these buttons, you can update that for each of the individual buttons here. So say the normal height of your button is 50 pixels, you can change that here, and we'll make the width maybe 240. So we changed that for desktop. Now let's change the settings for mobile. So we'll switch to the mobile view just so we know what we're working with here. And we'll make the width maybe 140. And the button height to 45. You also have the ability to change the margins on both desktop and mobile. So you can update with this slider here to change it to 10 pixels and here to 15 pixels for horizontal. And you can make those updates for each of the types of buttons that we have available if you'd like some of them to be different. So that about covers all of the options that we have in these global design settings. Again, make sure to hit save, and then we will finish the quiz. Once you've hit Finish Quiz, your quiz will take a few minutes to generate, then it'll place you inside our normal Digioh editor. From here, you can click on elements individually to update them as needed, and click and drag to move them around the page. It's always good to take a look through your quiz and make sure everything looks the way you want it, and make any small updates that you need. If you're looking to learn how to further edit your quiz once you're in our normal editor, we'll leave a link to our help doc that goes into more detail there. As always, please reach out to support@digioh.com with any questions. Thanks for watching.